Everyone, we're going to get started now. Just to introduce myself, I'm Jack, part of the team here at Cronofy. Welcome to our launch webinar of Meeting Agents. So, this is going to be the first time for our customers and our new users to actually see what our new capability in the form of Meeting Agents is about. A couple of normal housekeeping rules or tips before we crack on. This is being recorded, so if you need to drop or you want to come back and look at the information afterwards, you will all get a copy of that recording to your email. And then secondly, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. You can use either the chat or the Q&A box, which you should see at the bottom of your Zoom window. So with that, I will pass over to Gary, and then at the end, we will come back and touch on questions. So, Gary, over to you.
Thanks, Jack, and thanks for everyone for making the time for joining us. I'm really excited to sort of announce Meeting Agents. It's one of the biggest features that we've added to Cronofy as a platform in recent times, and is fundamentally the ability to automatically record and transcribe meetings via your application. So for a long time, Cronofy has supported two core jobs: getting meetings scheduled, so for example, knowing when people are available such that the meeting can take place, but making them effective. So adding the correct conferencing, the correct meeting room, and these sorts of things, such that all the people are in the right place at the right time. Now, what Meeting Agents are allowing us to do is make meetings more effective. There's getting people in the right place, but there's also making sure that we're maximizing the outcomes that come from those meetings. Meeting agents are being introduced as a natural extension of our API. In order for agents to work, you need to know when the meeting is going to take place, how to access it, and that's all information that Cronofy already has available. So we can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Like out the box, the experience is going to be as simple as what you can see on the screen here. If you're already integrated with Cronofy, much like when we introduced conferencing 4 odd years ago, you could add the single conferencing block to your existing API call to create an event. To add a meeting agent to that event, you'll be able to add a similar additional block to say, and please send a meeting agent to this meeting. Out of the box, meeting agents will deliver a high quality audio and video recording of those meetings, and also importantly, a transcript out of that of similarly high quality. And the integration will be as seamless as possible. So going back from a very small change for how you create an event, you'll get notifications of the agent joining the meeting, the recording being available, the transcript being available, all those key points along that timeline, such that your application can respond to ingest the transcript, to index it, to drive sentiment from it, and so on. And as I said earlier, this is all about taking those meetings and driving better outcomes from them. So for example, in hiring, being able to drive faster, more confident hiring decisions, in health tech, being able to deliver better patient care by removing the need for manual note taking by being able to lean on automated note taking, and in coaching, being able to provide a better experience for the target of that coaching. And I've spoken to numerous of our customers, and one of the common themes was that a lot of these things already exist, but the variance in how good notes are vary significantly. And by having an automated process, you are raising the floor such that you get good notes against all meetings, rather than excellent ones against some meetings and no notes against others. And this unlocks a lot of capability for your products. That data, which is currently like locked into the piece of paper on somebody's desk, or perhaps just purely in someone's head, can end up into your product. And so that you can more easily extract common themes. You can automatically populate, or what we heard quite a lot of was, we'd like to pre-populate a form such that we're still keeping that human in the loop for, say, interview notes or something like that, or pre-filling the scorecard for an interview. Still keeping human in the loop to sort of like check the accuracy, but reducing the burden on that person such that they can spend more time in interviews, in consultations, in coaching calls, but making sure that the quality and the density of data within the system is as high as it is much higher. And this is a little snapshot of it in action. It's been internal testing for a couple of weeks now. And this is what you will be able to see as an integrator to sort of like delve into like what exactly was happening when this meeting agent went and joined that meeting. So we've got this timeline of which we'll be providing access to the key points for you to subscribe as an integrator. But you can see there's some key steps of it joining the meeting, recording, that being stored on our side, the transcript being generated, and you finally being told about the transcript being available. Access to the audio and video is also going to be possible completely via the API. So we're proving out this in this sort of a UI-driven way at the moment, but that's all fundamentally going to be exposed through our API in the next week or two. As I said, spoken to quite a number of customers along the way, but also I think one of Cronofy's strengths is being able to anticipate the concerns that we've had, particularly from customers on the data protection side. There's a huge amount of data that's now being processed in order to extract these insights, and obviously people are very nervous about how that goes about. So one of the things that we have sort of started as one of the core what's the word, constraints that we sort of put upon ourselves is that we needed to make sure that all processing was happening on our infrastructure. So if you're using the infrastructure today for scheduling the meetings, if the extraction of this context from those meetings is happening on that same data infrastructure. That means for the sort of compliance-minded of you, there are no additional sub-processors required for this to happen. And that same infrastructure is the same under the same controls as everything else. So the same infrastructure that's SOC 2 Type 2 attested is compatible, is certified against ISO 27001, 27701, and 27018. It's the exact same infrastructure alongside the schedule information that we're already processing for existing integrators. We've made it so that user control, which is effectively under the control of your product. So we're not pushing it onto every meeting that you create from Cronofy. It is opt-in through those API calls saying that please send a meeting agent to this meeting. So that gives you the ability to do it for a select number of customers. It gives you also have the ability to cancel a meeting agent from joining a meeting if it's already been sort of scheduled for the future. So we're making sure that we're giving you the ability to control the user and the user experience on that side of things. And yeah, again, to the compliance and legal sides of making sure that you've got the ability to obtain consent before sending meeting agents into a meeting. And one of the reasons that we've built this is because it's not simple. Like we've had several people over the years come to us and say, like, you already have, almost back to that third slide, I think it was, you already have all the information that you need in order to be able to get transcripts out to the meeting so that we can capture this data. Can you make it so that it's like a single line of code for us? And it's maybe like 10 lines of code, but that's what we've aimed for, and I think we have delivered. That rather than you having to build this in-house, which can take months, from our experience, particularly if you're trying to deal with the data protection side of things, where having to set up all this stuff on your own infrastructure is much harder than just using some SaaS service that might be in America when you're in Europe and those sorts of things. We've solved all those headaches for you and making it so that it's as easy as possible for you, and all through one provider that hopefully you trust. From the user adoption point of view, there's nothing new for them. Like they will be going to join the meetings of Zoom, Meet, or Teams as they have been before. It's just that an agent will also be arriving into those meetings in order to record them. So there's essentially no change in what the users need to do, but you're extracting that data from that meeting such that you can make more powerful decisions within your products. Yeah, so that's sort of the brief overrun of like what meeting agents are, what we're what our sort of like underlying goals were, and hopefully what we enable you to build as a result of that. Um, Jack, I think we've got not seeing. I think Lily Drake has a hand up. I can see in the
Yes,
participants.
Lily, I'll select you to allow to talk. If you want to, yeah, I mean, if you want to jump on and ask it, or if you're more comfortable in the chat, feel free. In the meantime, there were a couple of questions that came in actually, Gary, while people were signing up for this webinar. So the first one is, are we also offering real-time transcripts with meeting agents?
Real-time transcripts, not yet. Like, yes, the first version we've focused on is completely out of the box asynchronous transcripts. Real time provides a hugely more challenging proposition. There's just the real time nature of it is much more complicated than an asynchronous nature. And from what we've heard through talking to people, is that the transcript, like the complete transcript, is the point at which it's most useful. But also, we've spoken to a few people who have tried doing live transcription to do live coaching, and it's actually proved to not be that valuable to people because it's splitting people's focus. So, but that's not to say that we're never going to do it. But the first starting point is the asynchronous after the meeting full transcript that we're going to do live.
Brilliant. And Lily, if I remember correctly, I think this might have been the question that you sent in anyway. So Gary, what use cases will these meeting agents work with? And a follow-up to that, would they work if you're not using the calendar integration?
So again, sort of today, our starting point is that we're building it for people who have integrated with our white label API. So yes, it needs to have been provisioned through Cronofy at present, and it needs to be using Zoom, Meet, or Teams, but that sort of covers a very like high nines level of sort of like penetration of conferencing that's happening. However, we have designed it such that parts can be used individually, and that's not what we've got as a product at the moment, but it's been built with that in mind, such that, for example, in the HR tech space, we have in mind that one-to-ones aren't necessarily scheduled through a system. They're not even necessarily scheduled through the HR system. They're put in the calendar and they happen and they get sort of recorded into those systems. So we do have in mind extending the API in future versions to be able to send a meeting agent to any meeting with appropriate conferencing within a calendar. We've also got in mind beyond that of like some one-to-ones happen in person, not via conferencing, and working out how we can sort of get an audio recording of those sorts of meetings such that they can be fed back into applications.
Brilliant. And I see, Lily, you put in a follow-up question, which I think Gary has just answered really. So does it work for any meeting link that a client puts into the interview? Or does it only work with certain meeting tools? So I think on that one, Gary, what conferencing platforms will meeting agents actually support to start with?
So yeah, it's currently Meet, Teams, and Zoom. That's what's going to be supported by them in the first iteration.
And then one on Teams actually that I've just seen come in from Henry. Does Cronify access Teams audio and video by adding the meeting agent as a guest to the meeting?
It's not explicitly added as a guest to the meeting, but it joins the URL and so comes in as yeah, as a sort of an anonymous attendee. So it doesn't appear within the calendar, but it does appear within the meeting. And so that's there is a visible presence of the meeting agent such that people are aware that a recording is happening and so on.
One or two more questions, and then again, if anyone has any outstanding questions they want Gary to answer live, please feel free to drop them in. How will meeting agents actually be billed for our customers?
So we're going to include a number of hours. So the billing unit is sort of like recorded and transcribed hour. So if there's any problems in obtaining a recording or it's not allowed to access the meeting, then there'll be no charge. But for any successfully recorded and transcribed meeting, that's where the charge comes in. And we'll have enough, like a handful of hours, such that development is entirely free for those sorts of things. But we're looking at 99 cents per hour for recordings that are both recorded and transcribed.
Brilliant. So I'm not seeing any more questions in. I think we'll hang around for a minute or so. Oh, I have just seen one. From Lily, does it work with application calendars?
It So with application calendars, there's the limitation of they don't have conferencing because they don't have identity. But there is an adjacent feature that is in the process of being launched that might be able to work around that, where the Cronofy calendars is sort of a separate product, well, not product, like a feature that we are also launching, where we take something close to an application calendar, but give it the concept of identity of an individual, which means that it can then inherit conferencing, which means that a meeting agent will be able to join it. So application calendars, not necessarily, but we'd love to have a chat about what you're looking to build and see if there's something we can facilitate there.
Another one that's just come in from Matt. Will you include rich content such as notes, action items, sentiment, and so on, or just provide the transcripts?
Day one, just transcripts. Day two, maybe not the following day, literally, but the summary of the meeting is something that a lot of people have shown interest in. Action items, sentiment, etc. is not never, but this is where we feel that we're providing plumbing that gives access to this data, and you as integrators and with knowledge of your product and your vertical and all those sorts of things are much better placed in order to know what sort of, for one of the prompts that might be necessary to get the right action items out of a transcript, whereas we're approaching this from a generic, it is a transcript without necessarily the full context of what is trying to be achieved by that meeting.
Another one that's just come in. What about data retention? So will Cronify be keeping the data indefinitely or with a configurable time limit, possibly for our customers' preference? And will personal information be filtered out and not transcribed?
So our out of the box default is going to be we're holding on to the recordings and transcripts for 7 days. That's kind of trying to be holding on to it for as short a period of time as possible, but still having it around long enough such that if a support case comes in, we can access the data to look into the actual detail. But really, we're holding on to it for as short a period of time as possible as a default, in order whilst we still long enough for us to be able to actually provide a quality service. And data retention really is upon you as an integrator to pull it into your system and understand how long it needs to be held on for. We will not be doing any filtering of PII and so on as part of the transcribing. It's that I'm not sure that's kind of back to the understanding the context of action item sentiment, etc. It's like we're not necessarily able to identify those sorts of things in order to be able to do it because we don't have the full context that the product, the integrating product does.
Brilliant. For now, they are the only questions that I'm seeing. So again, we've still got a bit of time. So if anyone has any more burning questions, feel free to drop them. In the meantime, as I said, we will be sending out a follow-up with the recording of this. And as Gary mentioned, and as you can see in the QR code, if you want a bit of a tailored walkthrough and actually see what meeting agents looks like in practice for your use case, please feel free to either use that QR code and book a time, or get in touch with our success team, which I'm sure you're all already in touch with. But again, if you want any more information or want to actually talk through what an integration would look like for you, we will include a couple of links in the follow-up emails that go out shortly after this webinar. But I think, Gary, for now, I'm not seeing any more questions come in.
No,
So
I'd just like to echo what Jack said. Whilst this is like the first version of this, we've got a bunch of ideas and we really want to invest our time where our customers or prospects would see the most value. So please get in touch with us, and we'd love to have a conversation to build something that's useful.